That was a good time. Um, done talking about the veil. I'm done. I guess I could type it. I'm just gonna say done. Uh, so if you're like, don't spoil it in the chat. I will say that. Yeah, what up, Mal? We're gonna see. I'm going to be making my customary giant bowl of popcorn. Let's go. Let's go. Do you put any seasonings on it for your popcorn? What are we doing? A little butter, or a little something else? No problem, Mira. Be a whole different thing. Yeah, being there alive is a different experience. Like I will say, I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of being there alive in the room. Yo, what's up, Rubber? Um, Especially because there were so many big announcements. Now, was it different because I wasn't following them as closely at the time, and there was Daggerheart and all that? Yeah, like it was a little different when it came to that, but we'll see. Daniel says, do we think we will see Murray channeling Tracy every episode, or was that just a one-time thing? I'm pretty sure her mother is going to be a part of her personality throughout the entire thing. That would be my guess. Piratey Steve says, Louise got to take things down a lot. He went crazy. He went crazy. I think so. Here's my hope, is that we don't get another moment like that for a while. I want them to matter. I want his scenes of like breaking down and going that in depth with emotion to be at moments that like deserve that emotion. I just don't want him to be like breaking down into tears every episode. Like I personally don't. So I'm hoping, like, I love that he has the ability to do that. I love that he has the acting chops and that he can get into it like that. Fan of that. I just don't, I want it for moments that feel like they deserve it. That's what I want. And I appreciate that, Dag. Yeah, making sure not saying anything too obvious with it. I typically just do salt, but I've been known to toss it with Parmesan cheese or a little black pepper sometimes. Parmesan cheese in the popcorn is interesting. I'm so excited for more Belair. I love his character so much. What's up, Spamuel? Yeah, Belair's in. I mean, this again. I'm actually so happy that this group's first episode was as good as it was, because after the Seekers, I was nervous. I was nervous, truly. So I'm quite happy that the Schemers are off to a good start. Now, hopefully they keep it up. Hopefully they keep it up. The fact that we're now getting King Gus and the Hound potentially and all that, like, I'm thinking maybe, gonna help with that, making it good, but we will have to wait and see. Oh, I just Mr. Malicious, where you said Tracy is Marisha's Vapid Valley girl persona. I'm not sure it's also her mom. I didn't know about that. I didn't know about the Tracy thing. Scott, thanks for sharing the live stream on TikTok. I really appreciate that. I just knew that people were saying she's a lot like her mom in this, or where she said that, like she kind of channeled her mom. So that's just me not knowing about the Tracy thing. But thank you for filling me in. Yeah, real quick, since we are just getting started, if you haven't already, if you're on TikTok, double tap your screen and share the live. If you're on YouTube, click that thumbs up button and type something in the chat to help with the engagement. Enjoying the cold opens? Yeah, Scott, they've been good, man. The cold opens have been solid. This last one was good. I mean, it was definitely Brennan being like, yo, do this part. Like, do this thing. But the interactions between Taylor and Cadigan were fun. Even if Cadigan's still playing very close to the chest when it comes to his past. Daniel said, I like Louise's commitment to the role. He never phones it in. His portrayal of Xerxes and Calamity was amazing. I saw somebody, I don't know if it was a tweet or something, where somebody had said that he's basically just playing Xerxes again. And I don't know, but, people will find anything to complain about. It's kind of like everybody saying, oh, Liam's a sad boy. Some people just gravitate towards certain roles. They like playing certain roles. Like when somebody, like if you go and play a game of D&D, how often are you playing a game of D&D with just vastly different personalities? Like your characters never share the same tendencies. They never have similar. No, because it's you behind it. Of course they do. It's you as a person doing these things. So you're always going to fall into your comfortabilities, right? So I don't mind that stuff really at all. I didn't get a noise for it, but I see it. We got a. I want to know why I didn't get a noise for it. I'm a little worried about that. Thank you for the super chat from Daniel. $5 super chat says, will the schemers need to rescue Gus in this episode? I have been assuming that the Dakonas are going to attack him when he comes to the city. Will they need to rescue him? I'm trying to think why the schemers would without knowing more. Like, we don't know how much they know, right? So, you know, they might just be, oh, this is the king of Timony. Oh, they're taking him out. Or they go, oh, he can help us. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Now, let me catch up on chat. I know I skipped some. You just made an Oscar and a hug. Yeah, what's up, Samuel? Makes sense that Bell sells his Daggerheart. You know, they basically designed their characters in the Daggerheart. Yeah. I mean, they did it in the last thing, so that does make sense. In that live show, that last live show, the one that I went to Indianapolis one. I was so impressed by that moment. Louise is so amazing at embodying those emotions. He's good at it, man. I mean, he's an actor. You know, like he's been in movies, TV shows. Of no relevance to the current conversation, but I had the first session of my Daggerheart campaign last weekend. How did it go, Dr. Caliban? Spamuel on TikTok says, I feel like the schemers are going to dig into the politics of everything happening to wrap up this. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely going to be a good bit of that. Work days for everyone went better than I expected. I agree. And I said it in my review. I think they were the right length. And it wasn't like a full day by day. It was like, okay, what's the main task you have? Okay, you want to talk to Dean and Cora? Drop off your supplies, talk to Dean and Cora. Oh, you want to go check out the wing? The Celadine wing? Cool. You show up, you go and check out the Celadine wing, right? They just each knocked out one task and then it moved. One task and it moved. And none of them were super boring. Like they all had their, you know, their funny moments and also some information gained. It was so much more of a back and forth between player and DM. And for me, they desperately needed that. The Seekers had way too much one way for me. So the fact that it was a lot more player and DM going back and forth, I'm all for it. I enjoyed that. Judging from the recent con interview, I bet Louise had a lot of ice cream after that crying session at the table. Enjoying the okay, responded to that. Got 3 original cast members plus Academy Award worthy Louise. Schemers are gold. How did you like it? Ooh, how did I like what, Mama Hun? Oh, wait, being at the live show? Or something else? Taliesin, Louise, and Liam are amazing at chewing the scenery, so I just know we're in for some fun times. I hope so. With how the story is formatted, cutscenes and cold opens are needed. Agreed. I think it helps a lot. Platers, I thought they all did a great job of not taking the spotlight for too long. They said what was needed and moved on. Exactly what I was just talking about, yeah. And of course, some of that credit definitely goes to Brendan for being able to kind of be like, okay, this is what's happening, and then go. There's definitely a talent there. And I'm sure they've learned as they've gone as well. Miss was said, yeah, I think Murray is supposed to be a lot like her mom, but that particular performance was dubbed Tracy early in the Mighty 9 Days. I got you. Okay. Azune is in a rehash of Xerxes. They are both paladins, but that is the extent of the similarity. Hey, what's up, Allie? Do you think we have one or more undercover villain PCs amongst the tables, and who? I don't know that. I think... I don't know that we have like undercover villains. I think we have people who could potentially clash. In, for instance, Vela's. Her belief system clashes with everybody else's. She believes the gods should still be alive. She wants to bring back her god. Everybody else is like, cool, the gods are gone. So it's not that I think she's a villain. I just think her belief system and their belief systems are different, so there could be a clash there. Julian, of course, has the potential to clash in a lot of ways should Octus ever not want to kill one of the Dakonas. Like those sorts of things, right? There are moments for good clash amongst the group. I also think it's possible, just from some stuff from last episode, that maybe Azune was planted. Maybe he's a plant and he doesn't know it. I don't know. Rescuing Gus would be an all hands due to everyone coming back. Yeah, that's what I would imagine something like that being versus just them. Yet it is says, I mean, it's their game anyway. At the end of the day, they should be allowed to make characters that speak to them. Yeah. Hal fought for King Gus. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. In the War of Axe and Vine. Dago says, Halavars will probably be after Gus, but the Dakonas will probably want the Hounds for their paladin traits. Dr. Calvin says it went great, but his nickname is Whoops All Druids because everyone wanted to play a druid. So it's 2 druids, a beast ranger, and a shadow step rogue. Well, hey, as long as they can survive and everything goes well. I'm glad it went well, though. Now, Brennan enjoyed the last episode, too. He was saying in the cooldown how he didn't have to do that much while they are doing their scenes. Exactly. And, like, it was just good like that. Swallow says, based off what you know, what would be your favorite combo? Combo of what? I don't know what we're combining. Or if that was in response to something I said. I'm sorry, I forget a lot of the things I say because I keep reading and responding. And so if it was messages up, you're gonna have to repeat it. It's, you know, there's a lot of messages and I try not to miss any, so it's a bit of work. Piratey Steve talking about hand and wheel. Also, I will say, Piratey Steve, I actually really enjoy that you always put in the brackets what topic you're discussing when you leave your thing. It's very helpful. What do you think the link is in terms of Theozzi's paint and the stolen fake spell tiles? Someone in the company working for the Sundered Houses, maybe. Well, no, because Theozzi got the paint, which we now think may be the blood based on what the cold open note said, right? I think everybody kind of agree. We think the paint is secretly blood because of the note, the letter. Daniel says, if there is a heel turn coming, Belair is the most likely to do it. He has randomly murdered his associates before. Yeah, Belair's another one that I think there's definitely a chance of conflict. Defenestration says, man, I wasn't really expecting to love this new group so much, but they might be my favorite so far. I'm not ready to call them my favorites, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was very happy with the Schemers. Very happy with the Schemers. Maybe after this episode, I'll feel better about saying favorites and stuff like that. So I'm not ready to say that. I just think, to me, and I'm sorry that I'm always railing on the Seekers, but it's just such a contrast to the Seekers that maybe I actually only feel kind of okay with them, but they just feel so much better because I just was not into the Seekers. So now it feels like, oh, good, you know, like we got something that I'm actually enjoying. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. It seems like most people are. You're not the only one who has said that, like, this new group, the Schemers, was good. Like, it was better than they thought it would be. Connor says, I've said before, I think if Valus actually... Sorry. I think if Valus actually tries to bring back her god, the others will have to stop her, because if it can be done for hers, it can be done for the others. Completely possible, yeah. I mean, that's a thought. Sunken Train, hello. Astro, hello. I was talking to Dr. Caliban, but first off, I can't wait for a scene when all the interns and TAs are running around the museum. I can envision mini shenanigans. Yeah, Murray's getting a whole team. I still can't figure out what the Dakonas are doing with the Paladin statues. Yeah, I would like to know more about that. Like, there's some sort of detection, some sort of, you know, like, but why? Right? Eero says, I'm happy. Oh, wait. Piratey on brackets. Yep, I started using them because I couldn't always remember what topic we're on. There's a definite gap between what you say and where the chat comments are. Exactly. No, it's definitely helpful to remind me. That's what I was saying. When some people will say something and it's like to something I said 5 minutes ago and I've read 13 messages since, like, it's hard for me to remember sometimes. Eero says, I'm happy we're getting what the other houses are doing. We've had too much focus on the Dakonas, and I want to see how messed up the system as a whole is. I agree. Now, I don't mind that Dakonas is who we've gotten a decent amount of, because they seem to be like the main villain right now, although I think the Halavars are definitely more of that, like, quiet in the background villains. They're doing it in very different ways, right? The Dakonas are making moves in the sense of, like, we're trying to raise a celestial and kill people and wipe out houses. And the Halavars are like, oh, we're going to dominate the world and do it by making up a fake religion and working with demons, right? Like, very different scenarios, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it. Candlegal says, okay, Liam and Louise. I'm new to CR, so I grinded the man campaigns, so I was caught up for the end of C3, but I need to go back so I can watch Louise. I was really impressed with him. Yeah, no, he's very good. He's very good. Yeah, he was, I mean, the emotion, the acting chops he brings is definitely next level. The schemers feel like more of a team. The seekers were always a weird group because of the internal tensions among them. I agree. Piraty says, about the professor in the letter, who dat? Not that halfling archaeologist. I don't think so. I thought about that too, but I don't think so. But he did call them, Brennan referred to Dr. Talter as professor a couple of times. So, I don't know, maybe. Green Bone Saga says, do you have any control over the section of the chat that is displayed in the video? If so, can you sync it to where you are reading? The problem is that when I fall behind, I'm reading messages that have already gone off screen. But now I'm caught up, so it should be better now. Green, like your message is still at the bottom of the top of the screen and I'm responding to it. So if I can keep up, it works. If I can't, it just gets harder. I can only fit but so much on the screen at once. And I fall behind sometimes because not every response is like, cool, love that, right? Sometimes I go like this, I'm talking about it, but I try to keep up. Hey, bud, I'm a newbie D&D player. Can you give me a unique build for a level 5 character with 5.5 rules? I'm not a character build guy. I personally love a couple of things. Go swashbuckler rogue and have fun. It's not unique. Eladrin, you know, so you can get a good little teleport and stuff like that, Woody. Yeah, I would go in more depth and try to work through that with you, but because this is the Critical Role show, the pre-show for the episode, I tried to, during this live in particular, I try to stay focused on that because not everybody here wants to listen to me talk about D&D stuff. But maybe another time or something. Daniel, Party in response to Daniel says, agreed on the schemers being a team. They're all working towards the same goal, saving Dalmakiar from all the changes being affected by the Sundered Houses. Daniel says, my guess is that a professor is a code name. Yeah, I agree with that. It wouldn't be much of a code name if the Cinder was an academic and maybe intended as an inside joke. That could very well be it, because it's also interesting because they called Thiazi, Shadow? And then they're like, oh, let's use code names for you and all the stuff we're talking about, and then actually call me Professor. Connor says, anyone that likes Louise and hasn't seen Calamity, watch Calamity. I have no words of how great it is. Daniel just watched that and I believe loved it. Jason says, I was thinking the professor might have been the former dean of the school. Okay. Euripides? We're talking about Euripides, the one that just got let go or resigned. Cameron says, after analyzing the Schemers trailer in tonight's YouTube thumbnail, it's no surprise there'll be at least 6 episodes in around 2 to 3 combats. That's your prediction? I didn't analyze the trailer, and the thumbnail is Liam, right? I didn't really dig into the background of it, I guess. Candlegal says he might give Liam a run for his sad boy money. Yeah, well, again, Liam's trying not to be sad in this one, and I respect the crap out of that because everybody gives him a hard time for it. Yet it is, says, I agree, Daniel. I think it definitely helps that we have 3 OG cast members in the Schemers on top of Louise already having experience with them. There's great chemistry. Goober says, I am the most intrigued by Azune's character in the mysterious Remember voice. I'm the most excited about Murray and Belair having the day together and where the internship goes. I'm now so worried that I'm behind on chat and because Green said something that now I'm going to figure out if I can like show more of the chat. I don't know if I'll be able to do it this week because it's not looking like I can show more at once, but I will try to look into that in the future and see if I could get it to like have maybe the messages are smaller and I can fit more on there. Oh, I think you missed mine. Hey, VitW, what's up, dude? I was asking, do you think that the lung illness that the soldiers saw are people tapping into the light domain subconsciously or filament side effect? I don't think it's either. I think it's a sickness created, right? It is an illness that was created by the Halovars to make people turn to the light, right? They created a problem to offer a solution. That's what my take is. I don't think it's anything else. Hey, Slice, thanks for the 26 months. Oh, my hype button isn't working. I can't hype you. So yeah, that's my take. Is this was the best example of we created a sickness to offer the medication. The medication being our religion. So that's what I think, Vit. I don't think it's, they're like getting filament out to just random people and stuff like that. Woody says, please give me an idea for a one shot. I want to DMing, but out of ideas. Everybody was captured, and in order to get their freedom, they have to fight through a trial, a 3-room trial. But at the end, the final trial is actually that only one can survive, and they have to kill each other or secretly find a hidden exit. Boom. I created that. It is on my Patreon. There's another definition for professor. It doesn't have to be academic. You can profess your faith, for instance. So someone in the creed. Hey, professor in that sense. I like where your mind's at, Rubber Room. Look at that. A little out of the box. Dane says where HB is reading. It constantly changes, but HB usually does a good job responding to comments. Let's go, dude. Yeah, I mean, but I get it. It's like I'm responding to something and it's a little off. But I try to. I think Green, correct me if I'm wrong, Green Bone Saga was also the person that pointed out that sometimes when I'm reading your comments, I'm like mumbling, skimming through it. Hey, Bluff with the sub too. And so now I try to make sure that I am very clearly speaking when I read the messages and not mumbling. Yes, something you should definitely host. Sometime you should definitely host a general D&D chat. I would be up for that. I may just have to. Yes, Calamity was excellent. Definitely recommend. I forgot my pick is Dr. Phil on Twitch. Bluff, I didn't know your pick was Dr. Phil. When did you change that? Kanogal says, Louise and Liam with their you are enough moment and Taliesin feeding the man behind the mask. Both of them are close in running my favorite moments. Yeah, feeding the man behind the mask was so wild. I don't know why he did it in such a way that felt like he was trying to torture the guy underneath and then saying like there would be a chat or something. I don't know. Brennan did mention with Belair that Thiazi has a habit of being ironically literal. Defenestration says, this might be a hot take, but I really have a ton of hope that the Seekers have a lot of potential to be great. They have that feeling of a new group coming together and becoming a found family. I think they're going to break up. I think when everybody comes back to the town, or back to Damakier, which I think is just around the corner, I think that group is splitting up, and I want it to. That's my hot take. I want the Seekers to split. I don't like it. Jumble it up. Jumble it up. Louise was joking before about how he and Liam might cancel each other out with their sadness if both would become joyous. Yeah, well, again, I think Liam is trying to do something different. Louise he's a sad boy. Hotshot, Aligar, being Thiazi's nephew, yet trained by Sir Julian, might very well make Thiazi the absolute wrong person to try to talk sense or patience to him. I can see where the thought is there. No problem, Woody. You are not mumbling, you're good. Well, I am happy to hear that. No, I meant before. It was a comment that was made. Because if, like, I was trying to catch up on chats, for instance, if I was going to read Mama Huns, I'd go, so I'm wondering if tonight Murray will explore finding the missing grad student. Like, I would do that because it was me just trying to catch up. And so they pointed out that, I guess, it was bothersome or something. So I have now adjusted that. It requires me to speak a lot more. But other than that. But Mama Hun said, so I'm wondering if tonight Murray will explore finding that missing grad student. It sounds like he could be a good ally for them. Correct. And his whole illusion thing, what if he's the one that Thiazi had do the illusion on the paint? There's the connection. Boom. He's the one who did the illusion because he's an illusion savant on the paint. And now we have everything we need. Okay? That's my theory for the night. That is my theory for the night. I'm open to hearing others. Need to find Neurogasm on Twitch says, need to find an association to why Thiazi would be named Shadow when the professor would have a similar connection to the name Professor. Okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Thiazi is to blank as is to Professor. Yeah. Vit says, you think Sam is setting us up to be comfortable with Wick ascending into godhood? Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I think the whole idea, like if any character is going to or could, it would be Wick in the sense that he was following a religion that he truly believed in, found out it was kind of made up, but still believes in the goodness and the possibility, right? Like that's kind of who you'd want, right? Astro Panda says, I just looked up the definition of professor. Maybe the professor is one that teaches or professes special knowledge of fairy or multiplanar study. Yeah, well, that's kind of like somebody had pointed out earlier that, you know, you could profess as in like profess the creed, could be a member of the creed. You're saying the same thing. Somebody teacher professes special knowledge. Yeah. Could be any of that. Jason says, I really don't want anyone ascending. I don't know why, but I don't either. I think it's an overdone trope that the characters end up becoming gods. It's overdone, but if anybody was going to right now, it makes sense that Wick would, because he would prove that like he stuck true to the faith regardless. But I'm also like, it would be cool if they just didn't. My guess is the missing grad student is dead. Okay, perhaps the people found him and wanted to know what happened to what was taken, and then they found out about the paint, and that was that. Mr. Militia says that blood paint might be from the pool in Tanazar. The Asgra's like blood well thing. Goober said, Liam had an interview that asked which character he wants to meet the most. He answered Valus. I look forward to the table mixing. Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to mention just very briefly once that I have continued to try to get interviews with them. And I've emailed, I've reached out, I've filled out forms. I added the freaking like CEO or not CEO, not Travis, some high up like COO on LinkedIn and messaged him. Nobody has responded to anything. And then I see these other people get interviews the whole time. And I'm like, come on, man. Moving on though. There was also illusion magic on the fake spell tile. Maybe the grad student got a job at the Hand and Wheel after he couldn't busk for money anymore. Or, like, somebody else made it, or somebody had bought it or something, and then he was hired or forced to do it, and then killed because he didn't. Or he'll be the, like, person who's still being held captive for his abilities, and freeing him will be how they gain a lot more information about what's going on. Canogal says, I like that Liam is trying to brush off his sad boy image, but think Brendan is angling to pull him right back. Somehow I think birds will be involved. I mean, there's always the bird on the windowsill. Yet it says, Sam almost always has either two characters or a character with two different personalities. Do you think we'll see that with Wick this campaign too? I just know he has something up his sleeve. I don't know. I mean, maybe Sam has already thought that out, but I also think some of the times when it comes to those things, it's more of like later on an idea comes to him versus like he starts with it. But I don't know. I'm not in his mind. But I think in another interview sort of thing, they were asked on a panel about how they create characters, and like this person starts with music and this person starts with that. Liam starts with what he's going to struggle with in the campaign. Like what is going to be the personal struggle. And Sam, I believe he said he starts with a character flaw. He starts from a flaw. And so maybe Wick's is naivety, right? Maybe it's just that he's very naive. But I don't, it could be something deeper than that. You know, the lost love, all these sorts of things. Not reading the room. Yo, what's up, Famine? Slavic says, love the Liam is playing high charisma as warmth and isn't going for a typical bard, and Wick belongs with the schemers, but maybe one more soldier's arc for him to grow into his skills a bit. I think every group is going to see a change up when they all meet back in Damakyar, and I think that's coming sooner. So I think, which is kind of sucky in a way, that we're not going to get to see some of these groups go for a bit longer. Like it definitely seems like they get their one arc, then they're going to all meet back up, and then they're splitting into different groups. Daniel says missing grad student might be dead, or he might be held somewhere. The schemers might have to track him down and free him. Yeah, I think that's definitely a potential plot point. I think that is 100% a hook that could happen. Candlegal says, Sunken Train, that missing kid is 100% dead. So we have a decent amount of people, what's up, Mikey, who think that the illusionist is dead, and then other folks who think that he's being held captive. Shall we do a poll? I believe that is a good enough time as any to do a poll. So let me remember how to do this. Start a poll. Is the illusionist, savant, TA, wait, no, grad student, wait, let's say the illusionist is dead, captured, slept in. All right, poll is up, top of the chat. We have the illusionist savant grad student is dead, captured, slept in, something else. Neurogasm says, what if the professor was the wannabe cleric from the Seeker's Table? Well, yeah, somebody else brought that up. Like, what if it was Dr. Talter? She definitely has a lot of information. Definitely has a lot of information. Professor, if that codename is super sarcastic, I might refer to someone dumb, Tayor and Cadigan. Let's go. Darigi Oracle, thank you for the subscription over on YouTube. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will throw it out there now. We've been live for about 40 minutes. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, click that subscription button. If you haven't already given this video a thumbs up, click the thumbs up button. If you haven't already typed something in chat, type something in chat. Even if it's just, hey, Nerdcore, you're really cool. Thanks. If you're on TikTok, double tap your screen. If you're on Twitch, give me your Prime sub. Oh, Bluff must have come into some money with the 5 gifted subs on Twitch. 5 gifted subs on Twitch. If you got a sub from Bluff on Twitch, make sure to say thank you if you're actually over there. Thanks, Bluff. Appreciate that, dude. I can't see the poll. You're on Mama Hun, you're on the vertical side. You're on the vertical side. So if you click on my little picture and you go to the horizontal version, you will see the poll. Sorry, I don't have it in both chats. We were back and eat dinner. Sounds good. All right, I got to catch up on chat because all these subs are coming in. Sam wings it. It's weird to call them sad boys when Robbie and Cadigan is right there. He is having his own little thing, isn't he? All right, I'm back up. Defenestration says, well, I love the Dakotas as villains right now. The Halovars to me feel like better villains. It's a very different type of villain. Very different. I said that earlier. It's very different. One is more direct, like, I'm evil and I'm trying to kill and take over. And the other one's like, oh, I created a religion to make people be submissive to me and I'm going to take over and rule through that. Right? Very different approaches. Daniel says, I'm hoping we see a lot more of the Cormorants as antagonists. They are lurking in the background, but we haven't gotten to see much of them. I want to know if they're good guys or bad guys. I said, hey to famine. Mama Hunt said, Sam wings it. There's Mikey with the Charmander. Polls are great. Connor said, Sam recently said they just filmed all the coming together again and they're filming 3 months in advance. So I don't think it's happening right at the end of the Schemers arc. Well, the Schemers arc is also what, 4 more weeks at least, so at least another month. And then if they just finished it, let's assume that they kind of start and they each get 1 episode first, 3 more weeks, and then they get where like the jump, right? It could happen. It could happen, but I don't know, right? We don't know. Allie with the 5 memberships, we got 5 subs on Twitch and 5 members gifted on YouTube. Thank you guys. If you got one gifted to you, please say thank you to Allie over on YouTube and Bluff over on Twitch. Appreciate you guys. Neural says could be in hiding. Missing illusionists might have lost their shadow. Takona's keeping up their relations with Halavar or something. Goober says he's already too lovable to be dead. They got to save him. Yeah, I think that it's possible to save him. Connor says, I hope he's not dead yet. The eye thing is too cool to not keep around for a bit. Agreed. That is a nice touch. After the Schemers arc, they will resplit into new groups probably. I don't know if it'll happen right away because like somebody else said, if they just finished recording them all at the same table again, you know, unless it's happened twice by that point. Or using thaumaturgy to yell, help! Character flaw, he's a scaredy cat. I think he's hiding somewhere in plain sight using his skills. Okay, Yarn, you think he's doing the illusion and he's just walking around. What, you said sub? I didn't know that was money. Scammed. Easy. Get clapped. David says, Nerdcore is really cool. Thanks. Unbearable Lifer says something in chat. Thanks for saying something in chat. Be right back, and he already said that. Fantastic, appreciated bluffers. Yep. If when the tables meet up and split, do you think the new tables will be predetermined, or do you think the table roster occurs naturally through the players' decisions in the moment? I think it's both. I think naturally Brennan knows who's going to want to go where. He knows who's probably going to want to go to, let's say, the Golden Orchard, right? Julian, Thimble, for sure. Can the others change it up? Well, I think there's going to be a core 2 or 3 people that want to go to certain spots, and then there's going to be a couple that will move around, depending. So I think it's a combination of both. Been busy, but listening in. I appreciate it, David. Maybe he's doing something as protest for the changes. You think the illusionist is, Krish? Also, poll results right now. We have 41 votes, and 17% think the illusionist savant grad student is dead. 66% think he was captured. Nobody thinks he slept in. And 17% think something else. Okay. Piratey Steve on the illusion says, Azune had to investigate the Palazzo de Venus to check on unauthorized use of illusion magic. Could the grad student be involved in that? Again, I'm wondering if either he's actually a bad kid or he was just off, because it was also set up that he doesn't have a lot of money. So what if it's a situation where he was so desperate for money and coin and he was, you know, going to fail out of school, or he wouldn't be able to, that he was offered money to do something bad? That seems like the kind of like narrative thing, some sort of ethical dilemma situation that Brennan would pull out. AKA Flop says, did anyone else get ads on the Schemers for like the first hour to hour and a half? Ads where? Like on Twitch or something? Ali, once again, I just got to the part in the chat with all the gifted memberships. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate that. Piratey says, on the Palazzo, am I the only one who thinks Palazzo Enrico, giggles like an idiot, whenever the Divinos estate gets mentioned? I don't. And yes, welcome to all the new members. Murican says, Halivor will likely be the schemers Taconis. They are more engaged in politics, where the Taconis have thrown politics to the wayside so they can make big moves. So so far, do we know that the Halivors are super involved in the politics, or just like they move like politicians, right? Like they move in the background, controlling things and knowing things and all that. So I don't know that they're like any more involved in politics than the Taconis are. I think they're more gaslighty. I think they're more schemy. That's my take. Collingen says, just hoping for finally see what's the deal with King Gus. So much hype in Soldier's Table. Yeah, I've wanted to know about him for quite some time. Famine says, wonder what exactly happens when someone loses their shadow. Could be he's shadowless and we will see his soulless body with the cool eyes walking around with someone else, meat puppeting the body. What is the shadows being stolen? Is that tied to demons? Yeah, I think that was the idea that we all got. I can't remember now if it was like outright said, but it was that the tailors cut off the shadow and then maybe then they get to put a demon inside of them. But I'm not 100% on that. I don't remember if it was outright said or if it was just us, you know, making assumptions and filling in gaps. It's Brennan. Cormorants may do good things, but pretty much all groups with accumulated power in his campaigns abuse it in one way or another. Yeah, I guess that's to be expected. But then doesn't it also, in a way, make it kind of obvious, right? Like you can anticipate because you're like, oh, they can't be good. They can't do whatever, you know? Daniel says, Octus will want to be with Thimble wherever she goes. Valus will want to stick with Octus for her own reasons. Terra wants to accompany Thimble, and presumably Cadigan would want to stay with Teor. Why do you think Octus will want to be with Thimble wherever she goes? What's the tie you see there? Now, Valus and Octus, yes, I think that they probably want to stick together. I also am not 100% sold Teor, like, really, really wants to be with Thimble. Like, I don't know that that can't be broken by something else. And sure, maybe Cadigan likes the idea of being with Teor, but I don't know that those connections are strong enough that they wouldn't potentially split up the groups. Like, none of those, other than Valus and Octus, none of those are strong enough to me that I'm like, this is locked in, right? Like, I think most of those could be split. In my eyes, at least. I want to know why Wick's grandmother wants to see Hal. Probably because Wick was there at the funeral and all that, and now he's missing. And so she probably wants to know where he went and what he was dealing with. The Halavars are behind the rebellion against the King Antimony? Yes. Yes, because they're basically trying to turn it into a religion and then calling him a tyrant. It's named Leslie Nielsen, played in one of the Naked Gun movies, sang the national anthem, and then impersonated an Empire. I am unfamiliar. Jason says, Hal isn't going to be able to slip the Photarch for long. I think we'll see that meeting. I also think that's possible. Paul, what's up? Do we see anything from the Einfosens tonight? Well, it depends on who, like if Azune goes to, well, he was on his way there. Maybe the Halavar, I can't remember his name, Felonius, meets him there, or maybe he has to report to him. So that's possible. But I think a lot of this one, we're going to see them regroup. I think the players are going to meet back up shortly after and discuss like, hey, the king's here, the King of Timony, you know, blah, 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 and maybe something else will happen when it comes to that. Merkin says, the Halavars are the ones who took responsibility for expecting or executing. I think it's executing. They also want King Gus dethroned and now have business with Hal. Yeah, it's very in the background scheming, though, not like straight up political moves, right? Like they're trying to overthrow Gus with a religion, not like a political move in the same way, right? And they chose not to execute or stop the execution or whatever on Thiazi because they didn't want to anger the Taconas, which you could say is a political move. But again, I don't think they're more involved in politics than the Taconas. I just think they have a different way of dealing with things, and they are more schemy. I present to you King Gus. What again? Do you guys there's many looking at? Yeah, him not being in the thing and apparently out on a horse. Yeah. I like that though. I like the little twist and the little fun with that though. Azune will find illusionist, maybe, or at least some you know, tracks that can lead them there. Neurogasm on Twitch says maybe the shadows are taken to create the lung disease in the filament is the cure. The shadow was taken. I don't know why they would have been doing it to Teor then though, because they're trying to get rid of him, not just give him a lung disease. Azune will have to deal with the Einfosens pretty soon. Yeah, because that's who sent him on this mission personally. Paul says, I wonder how the paints will interact with their performance. Yeah, the fact that Shadi is already... I wonder if how Brennan's going to react to that. That, you know, Liam just kind of improv'd and was like, yeah, Shadi has been putting it up on the walls. And Brennan's probably like, oh, great. Yeah, I got to figure out how to work that into the game, that this blood or angel blood or whatever blood it is now on the walls of the theater. Octus and Thimble are just good friends. Yeah. Have a bond from previous years. She was one of his only friends. Yeah, I know they want to meet back up. I guess I'm just not sold. I don't think we've been sold enough directly that they are like, you know, not going to break up or go separate ways. All right, I'm going to end the poll now at 50 votes. 62% think he's captured. So that is winning. Taylor and Cadigan haven't seen each other in years. I don't think it'd be crazy for them to go different ways again. Yeah, agreed. That's all I'm saying is like these are all fine little threads, maybe, but a thread snaps, right? Like that. I just think they're all pretty weak connections because all these people still kind of split off and went different ways, and some of them were closer than others and things like that. So I think Cadigan wants to stay with Tyranny since she saw Marianne. That's also possible, maybe because there's now that sort of bond that they have, but again, kind of loose still. But he might be like, I want to know what else you see in that dagger, so I'm sticking around, right? Nurse Jojo says, after watching Tailgate this week, I believe Ashley was uncomfortable being at the table with 3 experienced DMs. Could have affected her role playing, or different from the Overture. Well, I don't know that that's what made her different from the Overture. I just think her whole gimmick came to head too fast. For me, her whole show, she needed something deeper than I'm just here to get the night song. Because then she saw the night song and then just, oh, cool, what's up, guys? Can I hang out with you? I want to smile and be friendly with you all now. And she showed up in such like I'm mysterious and very tough and awesome. And then just immediately it was like, oh, you have the stone? Cool, we're good. And then just moved on. So I just think her thing came to be too fast. We didn't get a steadier transition. Ali says, I'm wondering if Tyranny would split with Wick to go with Kat if it comes to this choice. That would be surprising if she chose to leave Wick. Wick may choose to separate from her. I would find it difficult to believe that she would just be like, I'm going to leave. If anything, they would have a conversation about it. Maybe he like grants her the ability to, because like she is kind of contracted to him or whatever. Party Steve says, in relation to King Gus, it seems like Critical Role is playing up that he's missing, but I just thought he decided to ride a horse because he's a king and wanted to. I also just assumed he wanted to ride a horse. Yeah. Boneyard Mod says, howdy y'all. Dang, I enjoyed the Scammers first episode a lot. Same. Excited for the ticking clock of Howl's Plays opening night. 100% expecting there to be fireworks. Not sure if the timeline works for the other tables to show up that night. Yeah. I think they'll show up and then... Yeah, I'd have to look at the timeline. It's probably within a day. Kura says, I think it's quite possible that the banner members might become the new soldiers table. Zuni might break and become unable to stay in the city and lead the new banner with Thimble and the Cats. Sunken Train says, who do we think will be in the cold open tonight? It's going to depend on if they're already going to show us the Seekers, which they didn't. Again, they didn't do that with the soldiers before. We didn't see the soldiers for like 2 or 3 weeks. So if they show us the Seekers, I could see that. If they don't, then Thimble and Wick, or Tyranny and Wick together again, maybe. AVPH says, Wick's grandmother wants to see Hal because they can leverage the Hallow with blackmailing him to be a spy. You think that's it? I think they just want to ask questions about Wick and what might have happened. That's my guess. Connor says, I think something bad is going to happen opening night of the play. Oh, yeah, I think we're all pretty set. Something's going down when the play happens. Mama Hen says, for the cold open, to the Seekers. Yeah, again, it depends on if they are going to already start showing us the Seekers. Cold opens. Winning is debatable. I don't know what that's in response to. Felonius is a decent NPC so far. I'm interested in seeing him again. The opening night is going to be chaotic if it's really Celestial Blood or something. AKA says, Grandma definitely going to be fishing for Wick whereabouts. She might even threaten in a subtle manner. Oh, she will definitely threaten in a subtle manner. That's kind of her thing. I'm all for that. Boneyard says, the Seekers table is way too rushed and it showed in my opinion. Yeah, I feel like I harp on it too much, so I tried to not, because I've already brought it up several times. The Schemers, to me, feel so good, probably because the Seekers felt so bad. For me, my personal experience with it, the Seekers were not that enjoyable, and I think that's one of the reasons. Schemers are good, but I think even more so, it's just a stark contrast. Merkin says, I think Dakonas were just as involved in politics as Halavar up until the start of the campaign. They are barely covering... I lost it. Tracks anymore. They're done politicking since I could agree with that, Merkin. I could agree with that they definitely are. They're not hiding anymore. They're just saying we're making our moves. We're making our moves. So I agree with that. Parody in reference to the lung disease. I thought it was strange that the priest's breath wasn't showing up in the cold air. I instantly thought he's dead. The Draconis are the undead lovers, yet the Halivars are... Continued. Paul says, I think Ashley explained by saying the weight of the loss of her family and her god was lifted to give a new perspective in the resurrection of Octus. Yeah, again, I know that there's like a mention of it. I just still think it was too fast. I'm sure that they have a little bit of a reason. To me, it just felt too fast. So she was brought in and everybody was like hyped AF for what she was doing. Like what she was, and then she just stopped doing it like 3 episodes in. Sometimes being mysterious in the office, she's too friendly. That's also part of it, yeah. And again, that goes back to some people play characters a certain way because it's just natural to them, and that is totally okay. It's totally okay. The continued part, the Halavar are the ones seemingly trying to treat the disease, or the houses at odds are working together. I think they're both. And I think they've said that. Like, they're technically allies, but they're also their biggest threats. Like, that was said. The Photarch said that. Daniel says, how's the interaction with the librarian was one of the best scenes from last week. It was a good one. I did enjoy the librarian. Dr. Caliban says it also depends on how long the all characters arc goes. Exactly. We don't know when they decide to split off and how long they're all around. Bull says, is there any theories on the paint or the dead man's letter? I think the paint is the thing mentioned, the blood mentioned in the dead man's letter. The question then is it celestial blood or is it blood from Asgra's well that was in Tanazar? Or is it something else? Right? There's a couple options for what that blood could be. Kaden on TikTok says, I'm like 3 episodes behind because I lost interest even though I so desperately want to be interested. I get it. Kaden, I'm going to somewhat self-insert and say, if you just weren't getting into the Seekers, 1, they're almost over, so you could power through, or, and the last 2 are okay. They're actually, the last one was kind of, yeah. You could just watch my recaps. Like, if you're like, hey, I want to get caught up again. I want to be in the excitement of watching the current episode, but you don't want to have to sit through, 12 hours of the stuff you're not enjoying. My recaps are between 15 and 25 minutes long. Right? And they cover basically all the stuff you need. And so you can watch those. You can spend an hour and a half across 2 or 3 days and be caught up instead of watching all of it. And then you're into the schemers. So definitely an option. Just throw it out there. Famine said, I had so much fun watching last week. 1 episode, and I'm already enjoying the schemers more than the seekers. Daniel says, how can take the dad jokes feet when he levels up? Irian Diaz says, maybe Yanessa thinks Wick went off with that actress, Armus, and thinks Hound knows where she is. That's also possible. I definitely think she's looking for where Wick is, especially because he just found out everything about the family, and she potentially knows that he went to the funeral. He was at House like a day before he decided to flee, or 2 days before he decided to flee. So that makes sense. Buck, what's up, dude? About to play BG3. Not gonna lie, looking forward to tonight's episode. Hey, me too. I am looking forward to it. AKA Flop says, I was thinking that King Gus was deliberately taking his time. Word of some going-ons with Draconis and Halavar has probably spread. I would assume he is sending out the hounds to gather information. Maybe. Paul says, I wish we had a better explanation of the Liar's Blade abilities. It seemed to grant a boon to Hal, but I'd like to see the other capabilities. Yeah, we don't know really anything about it. We don't know anything about it. Candlegal says, I think the thing with Ashley is that she tries to play against herself. I'm the same way. I want to be some edgy, cool character with a tragic backstory. I end up group mom and teacher. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. It's like people who attack Liam for being a sad boy. And then, are pointing things out about Ashley. Or that people, like, the reason people play similar characters is because it's what they're comfortable with, what they enjoy playing, and their enjoyment is important. Like, those sorts of things. When you sit down to play in D, I said this earlier in the thing. When you sit down and play D&D, all of your characters are not completely different. No similar personality traits. No sense of humor is the same. They just aren't, because it's still you playing that character. And so, yeah, you're going to play what you enjoy, what you gravitate towards, and that's okay. Seekers never knew anything. Fans figured most of the lore. Yeah, that was another thing where it did feel like sometimes they caught on faster. Like they weren't catching on to the stuff, and that again led to Brennan having to over-explain some things. But it did happen with the schemers last episode too, where he was explaining the forgery and the fake whatever, right? Like they were different. And so it was confusing a little bit, but it also, like, I got it once he was like, oh, this is that. And I was like, okay, cool. And then at the table, they're like, wait, so that's the fake one? Or the, like, they were still kind of confused about it. Also, welcome in One Time Bear. Pirate says, Nerdcore relation to Hal. Did you catch that the Liar's Blade gives Hal advantage on deception checks? Still think he's not more than a family man? It wasn't his blade, right? I still think he was a family man. Yeah, I think he fought in the Axenvine War and then he retired. He may have something from back then that like he did or isn't proud of or something like that. But I do think that he's a family man. I think he gave everything up to be a family man. Goober says, I think Taisha may have a flashback cold open. I want to know about her history with Hal now that we are watching Schemers. Oh yeah, we could get some of those now. Neurogasm says, odds on Belair being evil and turning on the party. I don't know that anybody's going to outright turn on the party like full on evil. I said this earlier. I think there are people who can clash. They can provide some clashing amongst the party. Belair being one of them, Julian being one of them, Valus being one of them, either because of their background or like Valus's religion and things like that. I think we could see some clashing. Agreed, they will have to engineer a new arc for Valus. It went off without a bang. I'm finding Ashley's embodiment of the character is unconvincing at the moment. Hope she finds her feet. Yeah, I think if she would have started this way with the character, it'd be fine. It's just that we got something that was like so unique and cool for a very short period of time, and then it just switched really fast. Which is why I think it some people are like, whoa, you know. Neurogasm says on Twitch, orc blood on the orc god shrine. What could go wrong? Terry on TikTok says, I wonder if each house has the yin and yang vibe I get from the Halavar and Tukonis. I don't think so. I don't think we get as much of that, but I'd have to kind of look at the banners and the descriptions of the houses again in this moment to really determine that. Mama Hunt says, or get a Patreon account and just read his notes. That's true. For those of you who don't know, thank you, Mama Hunt, for plugging this. I provide my recap notes to the public. Well, not to the public, but I put them out there to members on YouTube. So if you become a member on YouTube, you can read through my notes and also refer back to them. So if you're like, oh, what was that person's name? Or what was that moment? Go open up the Google Doc, Control F, type it in, boom, you get to the part. Or if you subscribe to my Patreon. So if you become a patron on Patreon, or if you become a member on YouTube, you get access to my recap notes, which normally become available sometime between Friday and Sunday after the episode. I normally publish my recap, and then I provide the notes publicly or to members and patrons. So if you want to be able to read through and reference my notes, then that is what you can do. One Time Bear says, Brennan has been teasing Hal's kids using the paint since the beginning. To be honest, I think this play will be absolute chaos. Yet it is says, listening to the podcast can be helpful too if you don't want to sit through the whole episode since they're split in half. I also forget like that some people maybe don't watch as invested as I do because I have to take notes and like think about everything to make content around it. Because I'm always like, what listen to? You know, you got to sit there, you got to be able to do this, and you got to be able to do this, and pause, and it's like, oh, other people aren't doing that. It doesn't take other people as long to get through it because they're not taking notes on everything and yeah, typing it in. Mama Hunt says, oh, Hal's definitely going to break out as something more than Daddy Fang. The Mr. Fish says, Seeker's Table feels super unbalanced from an RP, but the plot exposition was super interesting. Yeah, I mean, the lore was cool. I said this in my like review and stuff of it. The lore was cool. The way we got it, I didn't like. Godfather Hal. Mr. Buster says, is anyone else playing their class equipment abilities more secretive than Liam, Louise, and Robbie? I don't know that any of them are playing things super secret. There just hasn't been a reason for it to come up. Robbie's keeping his background secret, but not like his class equipment abilities, I don't think. Mordo says, he can explain the forgery stuff 10 more times, I'd still not get it. And hello. Yeah, I mean, clearly somebody else said the same thing, like it was confusing. But I started to get it. Daniel says, right, it's the Aussie sword. Hal's taking it up now. Yeah. David says, did Hal give up everything for family or for his theater? I don't see the family prio person. Well, he said, no. Remember, in the flashback, for him, when the infamous baby cry, I know we try to forget the infamous baby cry, But Theozzy showed up and was like, yo, stuff's happening, join me. And he was like, no, this is my life now. Like, I have kids, I have a family. So that's what tells me, like, that's what made him step away. Yeah. One Time Bear says, thanks for the welcome. First time catching a live. Big up. Hey, well, glad. Thanks for being here, dude. Heck yeah. And Daniel with a $5 super chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate it as always, Daniel, for the super chat. Will we get into combat this episode? I keep expecting an ambush. I think we might. I think we may get a combat in the second half of the episode. That's what I think. I think we're going to get one in the second half. Pure speculation, but yeah. Yeah, One Time Bear, I do these every Thursday, 7:45 to 9:45 p.m. Eastern. We do a pre-show. I used to do post-shows, but they did like half of the audience that these did, and so I kind of don't do them as often. Plus, it's just a lot. But, you know, every now and again, I might still do it. But yeah, every Thursday, 7:45 to 9:45 Eastern, we do a pre-show. So thanks for being here. That goes for everybody. And if you haven't already typed in the chat yet or clicked that thumbs up button, please do that now to tell YouTube that people are in here, they're engaging. So click the thumbs up and type something in chat. Just say, let's think of something for you guys to say. NERDCORE is fabulous. Let's do that. All right, catching up. In my campaign 4 sweater ready for this next episode. Let's go, Tessa. You got the campaign 4 sweater? Oh, that's dope. That's dope. If you aren't in my Discord, if you are in my Discord, post a picture in the selfies channel or wherever. Just post a picture of the sweater if you're in there. If you're not, it's fine. Famine says, on paper, all 4 of my last 4 characters have been completely different. In play, 3 of them have had weird things, dragons. For some reason, wasn't planned, but I apparently have a dragon thing. Well, there you go. Spaniel says, I need to know if we're going to address Azune being a sorcerer. What do you mean address it? We already know. He's an arcane martial. It's like, that's part of it, is that he's got magical ability. Ali says, I'm starting to think that this arc can end up with the whole House family being killed, apart from Taisha, of course. Well, he sent his kids away to Elodie, so I'm thinking that was to save them from that. I think it may eventually happen, or something may happen, but right now I think the idea was that it was to make them safe. But maybe he sent them away, and then the Halavars went to speak with him because they're gonna be like, tell us what we want to know, or we kidnapped your family. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Taisha kind of walked out on their family and how it kept their kids. So I know people say that, and it is true to a degree, I think, but not really. Because, and I think Abria also pointed this out, Taisha's kids are grown. Taisha's kids are grown. Like, right? Like, it's not like they were 5 years old and she was like, peace. Like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much that it was like she just walked out. She did leave. Don't get me wrong. She did leave, but she comes back. She comes back, you know. And she probably maintains contact through letters and stuff like that. Scott says, is Belair the most evil player character in Critical Role history? I do not think he's pure evil, but definitely a very evil-leaning character. I think he has some very evil tendencies, yes. Box says, I, like a sadist, am still very much looking forward to our first permadeath. I think after this arc, we may get something around there. Weaver says, why take notes when we have you? Brody GT, thanks for the subscription over on YouTube. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I also have my notes, Weber, so there's that. Connor says, I listened so invested that I can't believe you listened to it at 1.25 because what if you miss something? Well, I watch it in that because I then pause, go back 10 seconds, listen to it again, and write down names and stuff like that. So trust me, I watch it faster because I'm going to go back and re-listen to stuff. Tessa says, if anyone here has Beacon, has it been worth it? Kind of want to try it for the post chats. Yes. The reason for, they should give me a freaking affiliate link because I will sell some Beacon. The benefits of Beacon is, 1, you can speed it up and slow it down and pause it. Cool? You can also rewatch it at any time. You get really tired during it, Cool. You don't have to get up at 9 a.m. to watch it the next morning. You can watch it whenever you want. You have access from the moment it airs forever. You have access. Pausing, speeding it up, watching it at 1.2, watching it at 1.5, going back to it whenever you want. The cooldown sometimes has really cool information, sometimes doesn't, but when it does, it's like, oh, that's dope. Them explaining things is cool. Getting the tailgate is still, I think that they need to work on that. I don't think it was done as well as it could be because it's just like 30 minutes at the end for Beacon. I think they should reverse that. But yeah, I think it's good. I think it's cool. I'm so far behind on chat, guys. I'm gonna rip through this. If I don't respond to everything, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm projecting, but it actually seems to really want to embody the Vela's Yasha archetype and struggles. MX Cylinder Flame says verbal combat. Mordos, does Belair wear a live or dead person, or do they decay somehow? Why doesn't he feed them if it's pain to switch bodies, etc.? So many technical questions. He does feed them. He fed them in the last episode. He just didn't feed them a lot. So that's why I was curious. Why did it felt like he was torturing this guy in a way? Maybe because he believes the person's a bad guy. Like, maybe that's it. But yeah. I'm also curious because they're still alive. I'm pretty sure we know, like, they're still alive until they're not, right? They do slowly, like, decay. And part of that is probably because he's not taking care of them, right? He's like, here's a little bit of water, a tiny bit of bread, a tiny bit of fruit, you right? So I'm wondering about all that. I think a potential struggle for Hal could be dealing with how good he is at lying and manipulating people to his side, even if it's for good. Hey, me too. AKA Flop says, Belair's definitely has a different perspective when it comes to good and evil. I agree with that, which makes him feel heartless and evil. Taking over a person is nothing to him if he feels that there is a need. Combat Tonight for Pirates says, maybe we've got to possibly missing King Gus or maybe something. I don't think King Gus is missing. Combat verse 29 minutes, right? No. Connor says, well, Mage Forgery equals what Thiazi actually had. Roughly made Stolen Glyph equals what he was supposed to have. Then what made it was Stolen Blank from the Crows. Exactly. One Time Bear says, that's the vibe I got. Also, wasn't there an intro with Hal telling Thiazi he can't go with him anymore? Yeah, for his family. Sierra on TikTok says, I wonder why Bayless took the list that the Crow Keepers had of people who owed them money. Yeah, I wonder because at that point, they didn't know who had the stone, and maybe she thought maybe one of them had the stone or something, possibly. Marikit, thank you for the follow on Twitch. I appreciate that. All I ask is that you don't try to sell me graphics. Back, pizza was delicious. What kind of pizza? Thiazi wanted Hal to be careful with him. Mama Hun says, I think Belair as a weapon is definitely evil embodied, but he may turn good as he seeks humanoid sentience. Well, he's been that way for a while, like trying to live his own life and stuff. Mr. Malicious says about the post show, maybe pivot to having Friday be D&D talk for folks who can't get to the table with a sprinkling of CR breakdown segment. Yeah, I don't know. I do think I want to do another live show. I just want it to be worth it. I do want to do another live show. I just want it to be worth it for all involved, you guys and me. So a post show is possible, but I'm not 100% on that, or just a general D&D show. My D&D content typically doesn't do as well because Critical Role folks aren't all interested in it, which might be surprising, but I post a Critical Role video, get 3, 4, 5,000 views. I post a D&D video and get like 300. Like, it's very stark. And the latest live panel, Sam admitted he plays a Clockwork Sorcerer, by the way. Oh yeah, no, that has been done and dusted. The theorizing for all that was pretty much settled when he started using straight up Clockwork abilities and stuff. Tessa says, I also think our cold open will be with Laura. We haven't seen her in a while. Yep, somebody else predicted that as well. They thought maybe Laura and Wick together. I think that was Daniel. Sierra says, I also agree with Valus that Aranessa is sus. She isolated Octus in that bedroom at the Plaza. I didn't think about that, Sierra, but she also fought and defended them and everything else. So I'm not sure. I don't know what her thing is, but I don't buy that she's like evil. I think she has a secret, but I don't think she's like a bad person. Merkin said Taisha did leave, but it was to try to save the world with the druids. The kids understand and she still feels sorry. Yeah, that's kind of my take. Not only that, but they were older. She didn't leave babies and like 10-year-olds and stuff. I know I'm so far behind, man. If the PCs uncover more of the murder mask, will Belair become more or less evil? I think it could go either way. Agreed. Practical Renaissance says, speaking user here, I like it. Having the freedom to watch as a guy who falls asleep early and has to pee often during the premiere, I don't have to wait to continue. Agreed. The last 2 episodes, I have not, so all the way up through the Seeker, up until probably halfway through the Seekers. I watched the entire episodes that night while taking notes and doing all that. The last 2 or 3 episodes, I have not, because I am enjoying watching them later more. I've said it before. Talking nonstop like this for 2 hours right before having to watch and take notes is exhausting. It just is. Maybe it just for like, I get off of this and sometimes I just lay on my bed for like 20 minutes and like I start the episode late because I'm like, I need to chill for a minute. So I like that I can also immediately the next day go back and start watching on Beacon and things like that. So it's very helpful for me. And yeah, it's like $6 a month. So not bad. Speaking of $6 a month, did you know a membership here on YouTube is $5 a month? Just the cost of a cup of coffee if you become a member here on YouTube, or subscribe to my Patreon, which I think is $3 a month. So less than a cup of coffee. So support. Thanks. Beacon, there's a heck of a lot going on there. They also post entire episodes at once, so no needing to wait on the break time in the middle. Correct. Mr. Malicious says on the deadbeat mom, we don't know how old they were when she left, but it's pretty clear she said something. Like Abria posted something specifically that was like, everybody's giving a hard time, but my kids are grown, like, or Taisha's kids are grown, like blah 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 blah. So I want to say she basically said yeah, that like she left when they were much more, like much older. Yeah. Even if we haven't been outright told the exact age. Do you pay for Beacon just for Critical Role? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I know I just skipped ahead to a comment I just saw. All right. Even if you watch nothing on Beacon other than the cooldown, it's so worth it. That's mainly all I use it for. Yeah, I use it for the episode and then that. Also, you get shopping discount with Beacon. Very true. Mission Malicious on Beacon, but when I need to hook up my laptop to my TV to watch with my wife, I know they're working on getting apps and all that stuff set up. I hook it from my laptop to my TV currently. I don't know. I don't know that they have like a straight up smart app currently, but I know they're working on that. They made a big hire to like work on the Beacon platform. Famine says Beacon has been worth it. Not like being forced to watch the ad playground, being able to skip it. The breaks are also not a thing, so that's great. I watched with the Discord chat, so I end up waiting for. Oh, that's the other thing. You get through the episodes faster by watching on Beacon because the break doesn't exist. It just goes, and that's where we go to break, and then it's just Brendan being welcoming everybody back and getting right back into it. So if it airs on Twitch, you're getting all, you have to watch the ad segment, you have to watch, so a 3.5 hour episode or a 3 hour and 15-minute episode ends up being almost 4 hours because of the breaks and all those sorts of things. So you also get to move past that. I see the soldiers being Julian, Teo, or Thimble in either Valus or Octus. I'm leaning more towards Octus. Well, right now, I don't know that Valus is leaving Octus. One time says, do you think that we already met King Gus in disguise in any of the other arcs? No, I do not. Neurogasm says, Belair has some other objective that is happening behind the scenes. Agreed. He's definitely got his eyes on something. I think there's going to be first character death tonight. Really, Vader? You think there's going to be a character death tonight? Who's going to die? Pirate says, Belair host. Will there come a point in the campaign where the PCs feed a potential captive to him if it's better than setting the captive loose? I am also curious about that, because if his body takes significant damages or whatever, he needs a new body. Who's going to support him taking over somebody? On Belair, this body belonged to someone who attacked Belair. Perhaps he treats you differently depending on the circumstances surrounding the transfer. Agreed. That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe he's treating him differently because he thinks he's evil or bad or try to kill him or screw him over. Yeah. Paul says, I think there will be an attack on King Gus by the Condescent Creed followers. I could see it. I could definitely see it. I was thinking that if something like that happened, it would be like maybe next episode, but I definitely think it's possible. Kids don't always see reality. A kid definitely feels resentful to something the parent did, and it depends on how well they mature to get over it. Tessa says, I think Belair just sees humans as a tool the way we view a pair of pants. Treats it the same, just as humans viewed him as a tool too. Merikid says, Belair being freaked out that Hal is researching about him. He's like, I burned all that. Who do you think didn't put the book back, you fool? Balkma says, what did dude say to Belair exactly? It was such a funny, like, Belair, I find you truly detestable. The whole dialogue between them was just, I loved that with the other curator. Yeah, distasteful. Kanaga says, what if Belair needs the person they wear to suffer as a way to feed? I mean, it would explain why he barely feeds them. That would be so strange. Not saying it's not possible, but it would be strange. Famine says, speaking of your D&D stuff, just got fed a short about disarming magical traps. To answer the question that vid, more magic goes higher DC, mage can reduce the DC target. Yeah, so kind of one of the options I said in that video. The Mr. Fish says, Beacon is amazing. Well worth the sub. However, I wish I could zoom in on the mobile app version of the video stream. Fair. I do think the app's going to get better. I think they're going to develop things for the TV and all that stuff. I think that's what they're working on. I do know. Even if she did leave her children, men go to war all the time. I don't get that you abandon your kids comment. Also totally fair, Goober. Also totally fair. She's clearly not a deadbeat and has a good relationship with her kids. Yep. On House of Royce, Mr. Malicious says, I imagine the biggest secret is connected to the true gift that was given to the house. Very well could be when it comes to Lady Aranessa. Sierra says on TikTok, I cast my phone to my LG TV from Beacon. There you go. Yeah, so you can cast it. Dane's cold open prediction. Brennan discussing next day plans with Thimble regarding sneaking into the city and investigating getting Talsidamir in, essentially laying some day of groundwork to make contact with the schemers ahead of whenever it happens in game. I think that is very possible. Or if she's actually with Wick, maybe they hash some of their stuff out. Or we get a flashback with somebody. Also possible. But yours is definitely something that could happen, yeah. Scott says, I will get Beacon when there's an app for my smart TV or phone. Well, it is on the phone. There is a phone app. I took some notes on the treadmill last week. Yeah, there's Pocket Beacon. You can watch on your phone. Yo, what up, Reed? Piratey says about Beacon. Also, there's a section you want to rewatch. You don't have to wait till Monday to watch on YouTube. Exactly. Missing any good discussions? Tons, Reed. Nothing but great discussions. Here and now. Also, if anybody's watching on the vertical feed on YouTube, if you didn't know, there is a horizontal full screen version that is live at the exact same time on YouTube. If you click my profile image, there's two streams. One says vertical and has vertical in the thumbnail. That's the one you were on. The other one is the full screen if you want to. Watch it in the full screen and see a lot more of the actual chat and stuff like that. Just a fun fact for you. Vader says, maybe Zune, and maybe to save him, Belair moves on to him. Oh, wait, you think Belair's going to take over Azune? Sergio says they're definitely setting up some Candescent Creed supported revolt against the king. Definitely. But that's all in Timony. So I wonder if it would happen here, right? Does Dhalmakia want to get involved in the politics of Timony in that way, like directly? Like that seems kind of crazy. Tessa says, oh, wait, you can't really use Beacon on your phone. That's unfortunate. You can. They have an app. Yeah, they have an app. Supporting the dumb question, but the Halavar are the Candescent Creed. Yes. The Halavars are the ones behind the Candescent Creed religion. AKA on Belair says, I wonder if he gets the host's knowledge. They've hinted that he can communicate with them in his head. He can communicate with them. I don't know. Well, he says stuff like sometimes he lets them out, like he'll let them speak. I don't know if it's like an internal, because he spoke out loud to him. I'm pretty sure after like feeding him or something. So I don't know that he gets the knowledge. Weber says, I think he only feeds them enough so they have less ability to fight him. Could also be it. He leaves them exhausted. Have less input on his decision-making, kind of, to keep them silent. I'm glad I skipped last episode and watched recap instead. Not a fan of the motions and stuff. Good job. It was only a brief moment, to be fair, the stuff that claps. And like I said in my review, I know that stuff isn't for everybody. It was still impressive. Like, Louise is a phenomenal actor. But it was a relatively short moment. So, like, to me, if the episode is 3 hours and 40 minutes long and Louise cries and snots for, like, 1 minute, that's 1 minute out of 180, like, 210 minutes. You know, like I personally, I wouldn't skip a whole episode because of that. If anything, when he's crying, click the mute button, he stops, you go, right? And again, I'm not knocking anybody for not enjoying certain types at all. Oh, Scott, I thought you meant phone app. I when you said the app. No. Reed says, along the train of thought of Belair feeding on the suffering, maybe all the masks had a different emotional assignment, just like the character and the play to end the trickster. So kind of like how Tyranny's thing is suffering. You think maybe Belair needs to get something like that? Piety, in regards to House Royce, says, I mentioned that the Revolutionary Council, if it had one rep from each house, is now down to 4 members, and 2 ties are much more likely. Yeah, because of Aranessa or the Royces being taken out. Asher says, wasn't the cold open always switching between groups? So it would be the Seekers for the cold open. It was, like we were saying, when it was the soldiers, the first group, it was like Seekers, Schemers. But then when we left the soldiers, I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't see the soldiers in a cold open for like 2 or 3 weeks. Like they kind of had a break from it. So I was thinking maybe that's what would happen now, but maybe they don't. Maybe we do get a swap. What is vertical for anyway? I don't get that. So the idea and what I was led to believe is that it appears in the shorts feed. So it's a different, almost like a separate algorithm. And maybe I'm not doing it right, but it's supposed to be like somebody scrolling may stumble upon my vertical on their, you know, while they're on their phone or something and watch it there. And then people on their computers or whatever would watch it here is the idea behind it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just screwing myself by having that up, but the first time I did it, it was great. There was like 40 people over there and 140 people in this one. But then now, like, for there's 3 people over there right now. So, yeah. Turning the houses on each other. If my 2-2 guess is correct, it might be cool for a PC to say to the Einfasen or Cormorant member something like continued. Morta says, did we figure out what the paints are possibly what used to may have? So, kind of. If you believe that the letter in the last episode, that Teor read was hinting that the blood was hidden and it is the paints, then it's just a matter of what is the blood, right? Is it the blood from the well, Asgra's well, the blood well from Tanazar, or is it filament, right? Angel blood. Like, we just don't know what it is, but I think that that's what it is. It's illusioned. I think it's hidden. Gato says, I'm not as convinced about Bolair as I am about Teor and the emblem being a siphon. I know you were really about that lion's head taking the powers. One time Bears says, in a recent fan Q&A, Louise said Azune is very impressionable after losing Thiazi. He teases something darker with Bolair in the current arc. Oh, does he? Where was the fan Q&A? Was that from one of the cons? Piety on turning houses. Oh, so there's a ruling house, Taconis, and the others are like vassal sundered houses. That would be interesting if they kind of swip the script on that. Turtle says, sorry, off topic, but will you be doing VODs for the new D20? I forgot what it's actually called. What do you mean VODs? Like, will I be doing less stuff like this for that? Or will I be doing like video coverage stuff? The new Dimension 20 thing is what, the City Council of Darkness? I think, or the Council of Darkness. I can't remember if it's City Council or not. I don't know. I don't know if I will be doing anything with that. We will have to wait and see. I don't have, like, I haven't been watching Dimension 20. I don't have Dropout and whatnot, but who knows? Who knows? If there's a lot of interest, maybe I will. Party says that might tick the nobles off. Yeah. Belair says he's going to ask the bodies, so I don't think he just knows everything they do. Louise Snot, no, more please. AVPH says, Wick's family gave Hal the Hallows, so the threat of it being taken away may have him turn at least somewhat plausible information. Perhaps. Mortis says, I enjoy some man tears once in a while, and he's such a cheerful person IRL, yeah. I remember when they showed him switching bodies, it was mentioned that he was no longer in pain, so I assume the stress of the body wears them out. Tessa says, do we think the sad boys are going to be sad boys again? I'm kind of hoping we have fun moments where they can smile and laugh this episode. I'm still not sold that Hal is actually a sad boy. I don't think he is. I think Liam is trying really hard to not be a sad boy. Yes, he had to comfort a sad boy because Louise is definitely a sad boy right now. But we'll have to see. Maybe part of Azune's arc is that he becomes stronger and more able to handle things and stuff like that. The Mr. Fish says, can't wait for the petrification antidote to make it back to Sid when the tables come together. It feels like they're set up for a big lore dump on new story arc when that happens. Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of information to share across the groups, across the tables and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of information for them to be able to pass around. Can't wait the certification. Already read that. I need to know if they're going to address Ascended. But Spamuel, what do you mean address it? I think I responded to this earlier. I'm pretty sure, Spamuel. What do you mean address it? They already know he's a sorcerer. Now, where it came from in his bloodline, if that's what you mean, yeah, I didn't even think about that. If he has that, then because before it was like basically just the families, right? Huh. Sierra says, I wonder why Bela's wait, oh no, I'm just seeing the same messages again from TikTok for some reason, I think. Because I already saw that one too. I find it there on vertical feed, then I moved to my PC. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it can also help some people get in here. I can only envision Belair latching onto one of the player characters because it's a last-ditch effort to save them. I don't think he actually requires anything, really, just a body to control. Yeah, that's all I think he needs. It does make people stumble upon it. Remember that the guy came in and was like, what is this? I'm leaving. Yes. Bone Dragon says, basically correct. I'm watching on shorts right now. Hey, let's go, Bone Dragon. Famous says, I don't know how vertical works for you, but when I go live, I have a go vertical option. To my knowledge, it isn't clickable on my page, but is a short scroll that people can see when they do scroll and click. Yeah, I have two separate streams going right now. Like I have two dashboards open. I scheduled them both early, and then I do that. That's how I got it to work. When playing, I love combat, but if I'm watching, I want more story. So give me all the lore and crying because I love it. Princess 20 says, in regards to the letter, I don't think the paint is the blood. I think Azune is the blood, as in a descendant of a specific and necessary bloodline, which ties into what I was just talking about because he's a sorcerer. Yeah. Princess, you may be onto something. You may be onto something. I assume that once CR Abridged finishes Bell's Hells, we will get C4. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think they're going to stick with that. No problem, Turtle. It was a con. I'm not sure which one, though. Okay. Oh, I think you'd love Dropout if you don't mind another subscription. Yeah. More subscriptions. Again, if it covers itself and stuff, which it probably would, it's no big deal. But given this is what I do full time right now, and it ebbs and flows and stuff like that in terms of everything, I got to be pretty, set on where stuff goes. But we'll see. We'll see. City Council of Darkness, yes. Perpy, Oregon. I'm interested in checking out their new vampire game. Yeah, well, it's Vampire the Masquerade. It's just a modified version they're playing. Like, Vampire the Masquerade has been around for a long time. I'm pretty sure I played very briefly, like, a session or two of Vampire the Masquerade when I was, like, a teenager. I'm really excited about all the tables coming back together. I think it'll be nice to everyone in the same room and the chaos it brings. Oh, there's gonna be some chaos. There's going to be some chaos. There's no doubt about that. Yo, what's up, Geeky Vapor? Welcome in, welcome in. Yes to table merge. I think we are getting one. I mean, we already know that. Like, that's basically been leaked that we are getting one. But, you know, it's more of like, when is that going to happen? Right? Like, how far away? And then is it actually everybody, like all players, 13 players, are going to be at the table, or is it going to be like the Overture where they were kind of coming and going? Right? Like, in what way is it going to be set up? That's kind of what I'm interested in. Kaylee, thanks for liking the live on TikTok. Michael, thanks for liking the live on TikTok. Let me make sure my TikTok thing is still working, by the way. I'm just gonna type on it and type test and see if it populates. Yep, still working. Cool. Hal is a jolly fellow in this world. It is harder to see because he's grieving the loss of his brother right now, but he's very different from most of his past characters. Yeah, I don't think he has a heavy past trauma like his other characters. So I think that's kind of the thing where he's like, I'm not a sad boy. Yes, I was in this spot where I ended up, you know, losing my brother, but like that's not who the character is. I don't have some deep, dark past trauma like all his other characters. So masks. If the party finds another one, will it attach to a PC? If there are 5 more masks, will we end up having a 5 more mask PC? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to have PCs becoming masks because then they're a different character. They're the mask. But who knows? We all thought Wick was DSS, but it's Azune. Well, we don't know. I mean, is he level 2 paladin, level 1 sorcerer? Or is it the other way? So he doesn't have a subclass. AKA says, what happens when Grandpa Halavar gets set loose? They fight him and they have to kill him or die. David says, I played so much World of Darkness in high school. Yet it is says, I think the whole sad boy thing is blown a bit out of proportion. There is dramatic stories, so it only makes sense characters will be emotional sometimes, so it wouldn't they? Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. I think some people are fine with that. I think the sad boy stuff comes in from the repetition in which Liam is a very emotional, like that's kind of his go-to is like a deeper emotional thing, and the way he speaks a lot of the time comes across with that. So that's mostly what people are leaning in on. Be cool if they do everyone at the table, but introduce a new larger set. That would be something, getting everybody around and on camera and talking at the same time, watching at the same time, and it would be something. On Azune's blood, it certainly gives more weight to Thiazi's reaction to Azune being the guard to search him. Yes, and he'd be like, not you. Connor says, I think I'm in the minority, but I love the constant player/scene switching from the overture. It'd be too much to do all the time, but I'm excited to see it again. Yeah, I was ready to settle with a group. I wanted to follow a group. But I also don't mind it. And depending on how fast it flows and what we get out of it, I can still think I can enjoy it a lot. But by the time we got to the end of the overture, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of ready for the overture to kind of wind down and when we start following a specific group. All right, so let's do a poll. We're going to do one just of, do we think there's going to be a combat tonight? Will there be a combat tonight? Yes. No. All right, there we go. We have a poll up. Do you think there will be a combat tonight? Go ahead and answer the poll. Astro says, I'm trying to remember, is Sorcerer subclass unlocked level 2 or 1? In 2024 or 5.5e, every subclass is unlocked at level 3. I'm also trying to figure out why your message is not coming through over here, Mordos. I looked over and I saw it over here. You said, so a person of true blood is being sought by the Sundered Houses who also has tried to modify beings, maybe Wick, to use devices meant to be used by only the true-blooded person. Well, I don't know that they're doing. They're trying to find. Well, again, I don't even know who we're talking about with this, but the Dakonas need to find somebody who doesn't have the innate ability that they have, but shares their blood or whatever. Canogal says, I think when it comes down to it, Cat will always be on the soldier's table. I don't see Cat being comfortable sneaking around and being stealthy. I don't see him caring about lore and knowledge. He might come around on some of that. We will have to see. We will have to see. Tessa says, I'm with you, Connor. I really enjoyed the format of the Overture. Yeah, I mean, I know some people loved it. Some people loved it. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. It also, I feel like it made my recaps. Well, it was also early in the season, so it's hard to know. Like, it was the first couple episodes. But those recaps and talk videos about the Overture did way better because I think more people were confused. And less people had fallen off, right? Everybody's there for the start of a campaign, and then over time, like, people start to slip and fall up until you make it to a certain point, and then I'm sure it kind of levels out. But I wish I still got the views that we got in the first like 5 or 6 weeks, but now I like dead stuck in like a 3,000 to 5,000 range. I'm just not getting the growth that one would hope for, but which means if you haven't already clicked that subscription button and you're watching, click that subscription button. I'm just hoping for a little combat, but also love you. Thanks. It seems like the sun god let a whole bunch of humans be sorcerers. Weren't Azune's eyes described as look like a sunset? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. I think Murray or Azune, no fault of his, will be the reason for combat. Yeah, I could see that. I was thinking of the scorpion cousin and the failed ritual devices was the wrong word, maybe. Ah, okay. His eyes were described as sunset. Yep. Overture was fun. Could easily get rid of real fast, though. Daniel says, if we get combat, will it happen at or near the theater? I don't think so. I mean, possible. I have no idea. Like, my brain never went to like where the combat would happen, so I'm not really sure. Right now with 45 votes, will there be combat tonight? 64% yes, 24% no, and 11% don't ask me I love you. Thanks. Cameron says, if Cadigan leaves the soldiers, I could see him wanting to avoid his emotions by distancing himself from his allies and partnering up with those he has little to no history with. I think it's just going to be more of what fits what and who can add. Like, if somebody was like, hey, this isn't necessarily what you would want to do, but you're the best guide, and we're going through the forest, Cadigan's going to go with them, right? Like, I think it's just going to be divvying up skills as well as desires. The people with the strongest desires will go to their desires. The people with the weakest desires will go where their skills take them. No hard feelings on Twitch says, I bet they all die. TPK. Let's see. Mr. Fish says, the Dropout is pretty cheap, not gonna lie. The improv game shows are great. I didn't think I'd like them. I was wrong. Heaps of fun and great to support a company with solid ethical practices, workers and artists. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard nothing but good things. Hey, with the 89-month sub on Twitch. Thank you, Chris. And thank you for subscribing on YouTube, Rose TDG. Appreciate that. WB says, it could be fun for there to be stage combat. Yeah, get a little show. People sitting eating popcorn in the crowd while they do a real combat. I dig it. I dig it. Now, Mama Hun says, my question is, will Taconis betray? Who are they betraying? I feel like they've already been betraying. Tessa says, yes, let's convince him to get Dropout, and those of us who don't have Beacon will get that. I'm with it. I'm with it. 100% Murray will say or do something to tick someone off. Yeah, will it ignite a combat, though? Will her saying something be the thing that gets them involved in a combat in the city? That's the real question. Oh, on Wick's family. Okay. Let's see. AKA says, if Hal rejects meeting Grandma, I could see the possibility of a scuffle at Hal's house, but I don't think that combat will happen tonight. Yeah, that's where I'm at with a lot of it. Is some of these things I feel like are further off, but I mean, it's hard to know, right? Like, we're not there, right? Like, we don't know how fast things are going to happen and what twists Brennan's going to throw at us and stuff like that. So it's a little bit harder to guess some of those things, but I'm all for guessing. So keep the guesses going. That LOZ thing jump scares me every time. The alert? Or are we talking about something else? Oh, the Legends of Zelda thing. Yeah. Week's family. Maurice says, do you think someone will turn on the group, and if so, who and when? This is actually, for some reason, this has come up 3 or 4 times in tonight's pre-show. I don't think somebody's necessarily going to outright trade on the group. But I think there are some people who will clash in certain ways, and maybe that leads to them trading on them. Like Valus currently stands out a lot because she's the only one that we know of who is like, no, I want to bring my god back. Like, I want the god back. That's, you know, like that sort of thing. And so to me, that clashes. Will that be enough to make her like turn on the group if they decide to do something that wouldn't allow that or something? Maybe. I think Julian could clash and maybe turn on Octus or somebody if they try to convince him not to kill Otakonas for his revenge, right? I think that could happen. I said somebody else earlier, I can't remember. But I think there are some things where people could clash. Belair, maybe there are some things that could clash, but it's more of his personality than like a clash in the other ways, like a fundamental belief clash. So, yeah. What about you, though, Maurice? What do you think? Connor says, I want to know what the powerful curse hurled at Murray earlier was. So bad. I don't know if we'll ever know unless somebody asks Brennan. I'm certain the plot so much more epic than we can imagine. Brennan is trekking us with breadcrumbs. We think he holds a bagel. He holds a bakery. I like that. Neurogasm says, think combat will come from the hunt for the illusionist. That's what I'm more leaning towards that. That's where my mind's at. Tessa says, I'm also hoping for a permadeath. I think Brennan was really trying, just unlucky. I think Brennan was doing the opposite of trying, Tessa. I think he put them in combats where they could have died and they did things to not kill them. But I also think somebody probably would have died or been closer to it had he not rolled really poorly against Tertia in the last episode with the Seekers. I think Tertia could have done some real damage, maybe even a TPK, if she would have rolled well the first 2 or 3 swings. Because she was rolling like 2s and stuff, but when she hit hard. Murican says, I've been loving Hal's relationship to all the theater people. I think he has a lot more to protect or avenge than just his kids. Yeah, I think he has a lot of relationships. He has a lot of, because again, he's the guy who lives in the city and interacts and is a part of a performance in the community a lot. Like, he's very ingrained. So he has a lot of connections there. Mr. Malicious says, but what if I want both Dropout and Beacon? Well, you better get to getting it. Hamza says, do you think this episode will be more tense than the last? I don't know. I think that there may be a combat in it, so if you consider that more tense, then yes. The schemer, in regards to combat parity, says the schemers will have to pick their fights wisely. If their foes make lots of saving throws against them, they're not very good at physical combat unless Hal's sword is godlike. That's also true. That's also true. Rubber Room says, I would love it to be Hal. That would be a twist. That would be a crazy twist. Tessa says, we'll just pass for tier 1 dropout account. No. All right, so we will take the poll down with 58 votes. Will there be a combat tonight? 53% say yes, 29% say no, 17% say don't ask me, I love you. King Gus is the illusionist. Imagine? AKA says, curse. Didn't Brennan mention some of the effects of the curse in a cooldown, or am I wrong? I think you're right. I remember it coming up. If Matt failed a dexterity saving throw. If Wick almost dies so many times, Sam just kept rolling insanely well. Yeah. I want some conflict. Well, what does conflict mean, Hamza? Are you just looking for combat, or are you looking for like dialogue disagreements and stuff? Because we had some, you had a little bit with and some conflict avoided. Like potential for conflict was avoided on several occasions. Yeah, I don't know. I guess define conflict for me. When you say, like, do you think this episode would be more tense? There were some interesting intense moments in the last one. Nah, don't get me wrong. I understand there wasn't a lot of it. It wasn't like every moment was like this tense thing, but there were a couple. Merkin says Murray got hit by the bestow curse spell at level 4, like subtle casted. You think maybe Velos? Okay, Murray's okay. Pyrades says, in regards to rules for Heroic Inspiration, do humans get a second point each morning to give away if they haven't used the previous day's point? I think that's how they're doing it. I don't know that that's rules as written. I'm not 100% on that. I know humans get it every day. They get a free Heroic Inspiration. Whether or not if they didn't use it, they get to give one away every morning. Like if they didn't use it, instead of stacking for them and becoming 2 or going to waste, they give it away. I don't know if that's rules as written, but that is what Azune did, and he gave one to Hal. Mama Hunt says, I think the tension will come from being so close to the enemies. The other tables are separated from their enemies right now. Also true. Have a good show. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. I think Matt turning on the party would be beautiful poetic justice, says No Hard Feelings on Twitch. Yeah, if in the end he did, that would be kind of crazy. That would be kind of crazy. Connor says, Dropout actually doesn't care about and encourages password sharing. Oh, okay. Dago says, did you see Whitney saying that Tyranny and Julian had met, but Julian didn't remember? I think somebody else has brought that up before. I don't remember if I saw it directly, but Mama Hunt says the schemers pretty much have to do everything right under the noses of the houses. Yes, I agree. That's some of that tension. Yeah. Yes. What if the illusionist is Wick's missing girlfriend? Well, that would be surprising because that is the name. Like the name wouldn't match. This is like a grad student at school who came from, I don't know. That would be maybe if she was hiding herself and pretending to be this dude, I guess. Hamza says, mostly tension with the houses and maybe fights. I think the houses may do something big soon and hopefully mess with some of the PCs. Yeah, well, I definitely think now that Gus is in town and, you know, the players are starting to begin like plots and figuring some stuff out, I do think it's going to start moving in that, right? The first episode is kind of like, okay, let's figure things out. Let's get people used to it. Let's get comfortable. And I think the next one is going to be a lot more like tonight's is going to be more of the, okay, now we're getting into the serious stuff. Now we're figuring out what's going on. The pieces are going to start moving is what I think will happen. Party on the Heroic Inspiration says, glad to see it being used. Can be very helpful in social roles. Agreed. Marie says, I can see Matt doing that, but I don't think he will anytime soon, if at all. Agreed. Yeah, I don't think he's about to turn on everybody now. Pirate says, must watch Popcorn Pan. Enjoy the show, folks. Hey, peace out, Pirate. Tyranny could also turn. She is a demon after all. That's true. Her suffering, her draw to suffering could also lead to her being one of the people that kind of turns into the enemy. But I still feel like so many of these things are far off. I don't think those things are going to happen anytime soon. Yeah, so real quick, since we are getting close to time, guys, if you haven't already clicked the sub button, please click the sub button. If you haven't followed on Twitch, feel free to follow on Twitch or give a Prime sub over there. That's helpful, twitch.tv/nerdcoregg. If you haven't joined the Discord, we have a live chat that goes on during the episodes that people are in. They're talking about getting excited about stuff. All of that jazz is in there. So if you want to talk Critical Role, Dungeons & Dragons, and more, my Discord is a great place to do it. We have channels designated for it, and the Critical Role live chat part is active every single Thursday during the episode. The Discord is linked in the description if you're on YouTube and in my bio if you are on the other platforms. So definitely jump in there. Nicholas says, Nerdcore is Fabcore. I think that's a compliment. Thanks. So definitely jump in there. If you want to support me continuing to try to do this full time, please consider becoming a member here on YouTube or subscribing to my Patreon, linked in the description below. You get some freebies over there. Anybody who becomes a member or a patron does get access to my episode notes that I update every week. So consider that. Mama Hun, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, hopefully it will be good. Hey, what up, Sherry? Tierney might have a prime objective. It says she can break the contract, but I wonder who told him that. His grandma, maybe. Yeah, or maybe it was kind of a lie. It's kind of like the way that they say that they still have control over the demons or something like that. It's claimed there are contracts. That could definitely be it. But all right, guys, I think we're going to call it there as everybody's trickling out. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Enjoy the rest of your night. Join the Discord if you haven't already. What's the best way to support? YouTube membership or Patreon? I think they're roughly the same. I think YouTube memberships are $5 a pop and YouTube takes 20%. And then I want to say Patreon is like 3, but they only take 10%. So I still think it comes out that YouTube is the better option. If you wanted to do one or the other, you could do that, or you do a $5 super chat. Or whatever way, but any support is appreciated. But yeah, I'm out of here. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I will see you in the next one. Look out for any of my videos. If you see them, please click them and let them play all the way through. Retention is king on YouTube, so if you click it and you stop watching halfway through, that hurts me a lot. So if you want to do me a favor, just make sure you always let it play out all the way, even if you just turn the volume down a little bit. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I will see you guys